Hi, everyone. My name's Tara Bradner. I am a doctorate nurse practitioner. I am the founder of Everlasting Hope, which is North Dakota and South Dakota's first and only nonprofit for infertility patients, and soon to be owner of TaraBradner.com. I am here today to talk to you about the importance of you becoming an advocate and how to do that. You don't need to have any fancy education or background. You simply need to have a story, which you do, that deserves to be heard. And you need to have a passion for making change, which you do if you're watching this. And really, I think we all have that passion. It's just finding it. So the reason I'm bringing this to you is because many states are gearing up for their 2021 legislative session. Some states meet every year, some states meet every other year. They all have different ways of going about these things. So it's important that around in the fall time that you start thinking about how you can be involved. Now, what's needed from you? Well, your story. So, step number one to this is sitting down to write your story. Write it by hand, type it. Now, when I say write your story, that means whatever comes to you, and is important to be heard. I must warn you, this can sometimes become emotional. Sometimes you need to walk away for a while. You may start it and you may be only a few sentences in and it becomes too much for you. That's okay. That's to be expected. I wish I had known that. It can be very emotional because you're going to go back and you're going to think about things that you have went through or you're currently going through, and it's just going to spark some emotions and feelings to happen and come about. That's okay. So when I did that, I actually was fresh off of becoming a mother after going through many different treatments, ending up doing IVF. And what that looked like was me as a constituent. We're all constituents. That just simply means that you are a person of residence of your state. And I wanted to make change. I knew as a nurse practitioner, things that insurance covered. And so it sparked a little bit of professional heat within me, too, you could say. But I knew that I had a voice and I knew I had a story and I knew that it mattered. I didn't know that right away. It took some time to find that. And I sat down at my computer, I opened up a document and I just started typing what came to me. I went back several times and reread that. I had very few people in the beginning, believe it or not, who knew about my story, and I shared it with them and I had them read it. So that's something to consider next is who knows your story. It may be just you and your spouse. It might be a couple friends. It may or may not be family members because as we know, many people that we just don't share that with many people. We don't tell everybody. We don't tell our coworkers, and that's okay. So just simply sitting down with yourself or with your spouse or with a family or friend member and family member or friend doing this. That's all it can be. Now, let's also talk about deciding what goes into your story. It doesn't have to be that much. It can literally be one paragraph. It can be 10 pages. It's whatever comes about to you matters. It's how much or how little you want to share, and that's okay. Just know that what usually happens with these is when you provide these statements to come forward, they go to a committee, which is usually approximately 8+ people. And it goes into their binder where they can reference back to when they're sitting and reviewing the bill brought forward. It also typically can be turned into a story. So we're going to talk about step number 2. What do you do with your story once you have it? So many states have went forward with constituents just like you starting groups and initiating these efforts with no background, once again, like I said, in how legislation works, what it means to go forward with these kinds of things. There are 2 national organizations that come to my mind that I've worked with personally when doing this: Fertility Within Reach and Resolve. And me as a constituent, I feel they do things differently. So I utilize both of them when working with my North Dakota legislation efforts. And they have toolkits on how to do these things. They have templates, they have resources. They're there for you to walk you through this. What will then happen is if you reach out to one of these 2 organizations, they might already know if there's work going on within your state. Has someone already started let's just use in my case, a North Dakota State Fertility Advocacy Group? They would know, both those 2 organizations would know that, yes, there is, and to talk to me about that. There is work currently going on in Nevada, in Tennessee, Arizona. There's many states doing grassroots work already. You just need to reach out to your state, to one of these two organizations, and find out who those people are, and they will also then tell you what's needed. There may be some other asks that they have of you. It can be as simple as sharing on social media, if that's the place where you're at in your journey. It might be sharing your story on their website, many different asks from different states. So, step number 2 is reach out to Fertility Within Reach or Resolve to find out if there's current legislative work going on within your state and what you can do. Now, let's back up. Pretend there's not any going on in your state. These two organizations will also start to get that off the ground, and you might just be the right person for that. Why not? Once again, you have a story, you have passion, and it deserves to be heard. So don't hesitate to be that person. It can be as little as a few hours a week or a month. This can be this year, next year, or in 2 years, but you have the power to impact change by what you've been through. I always say I've turned my hurt into hope. I used to be as quiet as a mouse, and now I'm on a mountaintop or on Capitol Hill talking about these things. So it's in your time, it's where you're at, but just know and keep it in mind that maybe you're just the right one to be that person to bring forward your state initiatives. Now, don't be scared off. Once again, I always like to say this multiple times. You don't have to even understand how legislation works. That's what these two organizations are here to help you do and to walk you through that. Step number 3 is follow the call to actions that you, if you've started the group, have made, or that these organizations in your state have already put forward. I talked a little bit about this, but it could be as easy as, once again, providing your story, sharing social media call to actions. Who do you know that's in the media? Who writes for a local magazine, your local newspaper? Do you know somebody or have a link, a connection to somebody who does media? Using your resources of people you know. Maybe you're not even sharing your story. That's okay. But you know somebody who works with media, with whatever kind of media that may be, or a legislator. Perhaps you know a personal legislator who has went through maybe infertility, a family member of theirs has, a friend of theirs has, but you have access and you know who that person is, and you can simply provide that information to one of these grassroots organizations to help. It can be as easy as that. It can be as easy as sending a templated email, which most, if not all, grassroots organizations will have. No need for you to come up with the wording if you're not even ready to share your story. Use a templated email that these organizations have to send to your district legislator. Huge impact. If they have an inbox full of emails on a certain issue, how can you overlook that? They have to address it. They have to make note of it. It's as easy as that. If you want to get really brave, you can call your local legislator when the time is right. Those asks will always be put forward by your grassroots organization making these initiatives forward. They will tell you step by step. Some are doing weekly Zoom calls with each other just to share. There's so many different ways that you, whether you're sharing or not sharing your story, no matter where you're at in your journey, if it was 20 years ago, your story still matters. If it was 5 years ago and you've never told anybody, your story still matters. No matter what, I just want to empower you and remind you that what you've been through is validated. Your story matters and it can impact change. Never would I have thought that a simple share could have went the direction it did in my situation. You never know. Maybe you'll want to start a nonprofit. Who knows where the simple start of sharing your story can land you? I don't want it to be scary. I don't want you to think you have to have a large chunk of education or knowledge or experience. That doesn't matter. Simply acknowledging what you've been through matters. If you have any questions, I'm always here to help people walk through this process, especially if they've never done it. Both these organizations are also really good. Once again, Resolve and Fertility Within Reach with connecting constituents that have done these things, and we're always here to help lend a hand and walk you through this. Don't be scared. You have a story. You are valid. You are worthy. Thank you.